All right, we're back, and we have some great stuff today. 6 weeks ago, we released episode 40, where we went into Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and got boots on the ground footage, and learned a lot about this town. And it carried on into episode 42, where we learned all about their tunnel system, and we exposed a ton about this location. And I think this triggered something. On October 9th, 2023, Fox 11 News reported that Oshkosh, Wisconsin had a road construction project going on, where they, for some weird random reason, needed to delay the project. This is when archaeologists were just randomly in the area and working on the site. I'm just gonna ask the AI ChatGPT if archaeologists are normally present during road construction. No, archaeologists are not always present during road construction projects. So we definitely have something weird going on here. And they found an extensive village. Are you ready to see what they found? Did this community that we've built trigger a destruction project in Oshkosh? In my opinion, this is exactly what happened. So they say that the Cultural Resource Management Project has been working with the city since the start of the road resurfacing project. Road resurfacing? They're not building a new road. This is not making any logical sense. A road resurfacing project happens all the time. And you definitely don't need government programs or agencies there, or archaeologists for these small road resurfacing projects. The cultural resource management programs are typically established and enforced by government agencies to protect archaeological, historical, and cultural sites and resources. So are you ready to fully understand what is going on here? Are you ready to see why I think we triggered this? Here we go. Because of the history of the area, the archaeologists already knew that there were archaeological deposits on both sides of the existing road. The old world was there for decades, and they knew this. And now that we have just gone there, they need to cover it up or destroy it. And there was a high likelihood of remnants under the existing road. What kind of remnants would they be talking about? And that's exactly what researchers have found. Unbelievable stuff. We all know that there was a much more advanced civilization that lived here before our current timeline. A civilization that was able to construct the Cologne Cathedral, or the St. Mark's Basilica, and all of these towns, including Oshkosh, that have been hidden from us and explained away by saying that they were just ancients. They were from thousands of years ago. So basically implying to us that we were not supposed to question it, when in reality, this advanced group of people were not here thousands of years ago, and instead, relatively recent. It's a village site, so a place where people lived in the past. Should we continue to see what they found? Remember, they have admitted to already knowing that all of this was here, and they are just now doing something with it. But because they're doing something with it, they have to explain it away with all of this nonsense. I believe, in my opinion, that they are removing anything that could give away the fact that this was not from 1,000 years ago. They are removing all of the things that this community would take and run with. This is shocking stuff. They admit to finding houses. Finding houses? Are you kidding me? Under the dirt? Mud flood, anyone? So what's going on here? There's a considerable amount of cultural items that they also found, as well as cultural materials associated with the places that people would have lived in the past civilization. Can we see this stuff right now on a live stream? No. Do any of us trust these people to share everything that they have found with us? Remember, they knew all of this was here, which is the craziest part. So these people are taking a guess that this civilization was here from the time period of 900 to 1600, which is the exact same time period that we are discussing here. Literally right before the 1800s, a major event took place and wiped the previous civilization out. I'm stunned right now, to be honest with you. It will, of course, all be preserved eventually, once the road resurfacing project resumes. Who here believes that? So this project is going to continue into the spring. So if anyone finds any more information on it, put that in the comments below, or send me something on X. We need to stay on this as a community. This is the past civilization being exposed. And one more thing about this article for now. If they knew this was here, what else are they aware of that we aren't being told about all around the world? Now, we are going to begin with the Milwaukee City Hall. And if you all enjoy it, I will go there and investigate and try to get inside. So just let me know if that's something you'd like to see. I have a few other places that we're going to investigate today, where the mainstream narrative is lying straight to our faces, to knocking that one down and upgrading to this, and seeing evolution hitting us square in the face. I'm glad that once we actually got power tools, the buildings really took off, and the architecture just blew us all away, with perfect 90-degree angles. So let's all have some fun today, and open our eyes even further to the nonsense that we have been told, and reconnect with our hidden past that has been hidden for far too long. Welcome to episode 46 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day, and if you're new, welcome. And I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to FlatEarthDave.com. You can check out his app. I'll put the link in the description, and you can use my referral code, MLB. The app is awesome. It shows a lot of videos that are really hard to find. They've got them all in great playlists. He also has my lunch break on the homeschool section of the app, which is really cool. Thank you for that. Thank you to Rebecca K., Don Gaston, Jason Brunson, Christopher Arietta, Maddie Kevs, The Lady Lacey Show, David and Sherry Ferguson, Edwin Johnson, Al Chen, Chuck Templeton, Dale, Edwin Rice, Joy Lee, Leslie Pipkins, PNR, Stephanie Nolan, and the Burlesons. You guys are all awesome and helping this channel out a lot. As promised, here we are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we are going to start this episode off with the investigation into the mainstream lie surrounding this Milwaukee City Hall building that was supposedly designed by architect Henry okay. So we have another childish fictional character that the narrator likes to be all weird about, as we have seen so many times before, constantly making names that are inside jokes for middle school kids. Now, of course, due to Milwaukee's historic German immigrant population, many of the surrounding buildings mirror this incredible design. Wow, okay, interesting. So as long as we just have a lot of German people, buildings in the unbelievable Flemish Renaissance revival style that could never be recreated today, and never have, and never will just magically appear. Did you guys know this? I had no idea this was a thing. But thanks to the mainstream narrative, now we know. We should all give this a try sometime. What a joke. Especially because this was built by a contest winner in the 1800s. Anyone that rode around on a horse or a donkey qualified for the contest in the 1800s. Every single one of them. They all had this kind of architecture embedded into their DNA. There were so many of them that they needed to hold contests all over the world to shed off all of the competition. It's strange though, because once the 1900s hit, not a single person ever had what it took to get one of these buildings completed, which is completely backwards from what we are told. Evolution, I thought. Very strange. Well, let's continue and see if they clear this up for us a little bit. What is this? You gotta be kidding me. Not only are there so many people that can draw up a winning design, there are also two Henrys that are so incredible that they can win this competition. This is another example of the AI generating names. Fake characters all over the place. They create these names that are duplicates, reoccurring, and nobody ever questioned it. Until now. We have shown this many times. I think my favorite example is in episode 43, when they show all of the Fredericks. And I'm gonna get back to this Henry Cobb guy after we're done with this building, because he was a busy character. For this insane narrative, construction began in June of 1892, after the pretend political controversy kicked Henry No. 1 out for the better option of Henry No. 2. So the project for the tallest building in the United States of America, reaching a height of nearly 400 feet, begins in June of 1892 and is all wrapped up by Henry No. 2 in just 3 years, when it is now occupied in 1895. Now let's dive into this and show everyone how insane this fake narrative really is. We are told that cream city brick was used for the exterior of the building. They used limestone, of course, for the decorative elements and ornaments, particularly around the entrance and windows. And then we need to have granite. What would a building in the 1800s be without a massive amount of granite? So that's all great, but how much of these materials would they actually need in order to build the tallest building in the entire USA? We are told that they would need tens of thousands of cream city bricks and could have been in the range of several millions of bricks. Okay, right. and several hundred to several thousand cubic feet of limestone, and in the range of hundreds of cubic feet to over 1,000 cubic feet of granite. In order for the narrative to be logistically possible, we need all of these answers. So let's use their tool against them again, an AI ChatGPT. Let's see how long it would take the materials to get to the site in 1895, and see if this is logistically possible for Henry No. 2 to get this thing constructed in 3 years. The Cream City brick is strange in itself, as they have ended all production of it since 1920, so we are told. Now, in my opinion, this brick was from the past civilization, and this is why the mainstream narrative has to explain it somehow, and say that we have been unable to recreate it for over 100 years, when in reality, our civilization has never been able to create the Cream City brick. Now, it's all over Milwaukee, so they say that it was sourced in Milwaukee. For the sake of argument, let's just go with it for a minute. Saying that it would take a few weeks to a couple months to produce several millions, which we were told earlier, of cream brick, and transport it to the site. A couple weeks to produce this cream brick in the 1800s. But we can't do it anymore? Do you find that odd? I do. So then we have the limestone, which would take several months to a year or more to extract the several thousands of cubic feet of limestone and transport it to the site. Remember, the entire 400-foot building, we were told, was constructed in 3 years. There is zero room for error here in this insane mainstream narrative timeline. Now we have the granite, which they told us Henry No. 2 would require over 1,000 cubic feet of. This would take several months to a year to get it all to the site in the 1800s. So just getting all of these materials to the site would be wrapped up in, let's say, a year in this supposed timeline. If everything went perfect, which we are fully aware at this point that this was always the case before we came along. There was never an issue for the horse and wagon community. And Henry can't build this thing himself in 2 years, once all the materials get there. So of course, he's going to need some construction workers, which we are never told about for some weird reason. But let's see what this would have looked like if the mainstream narrative ever told us the full truth. We would need skilled craftsmen, laborers, supervisors and engineers, specialized trades such as blacksmiths, glass workers, and artists. Then you have the equipment operators and support staff, such as, clerks and accountants, to make sure we don't go flying over the budget, and for proper documentation. Now, we have called the Illinois State Archives in episode 44, and we have proven that they do not keep records on these buildings. So what's going on here? Why aren't any of these extremely important people ever mentioned in the narrative? We are always given some magical architect, and in this case, multiple architects, both named Henry, but never anything else. Never a great artist, never an incredible engineer, and never a mention of any bookkeeper. You would think that one narrative would mention it, since these buildings are all incredible and still standing. And in this case, we have a building that was the tallest in the entire USA, yet their website gives us none of this, and we are supposed to just accept it blindly. How about no? We are not just sitting around accepting the lie anymore. Let's ask their tool how long this would actually take. It should say 3 years, since that is how long we are told that it took. But if you follow actual logistics, following real construction protocol, and not fairy tale nonsense that we have been told, then you are going to get a very different answer, a much more honest answer, a much more logistical answer. And here we go. After everything that we have discussed, and also adding in that there are seasonal factors, Milwaukee weather is not the greatest for construction project in the winters. Work might have been suspended or slowed down during the winter months. Okay, so they most likely built it in less than 3 years because of the winter months. Interesting. Using actual logistics, asking real questions that need to be answered. Let's see who the AI ChatGPT agrees with. The mainstream history that we have been force-fed all of our lives, or us, asking real logistical questions. Given these considerations, a realistic timeline for the construction of the Milwaukee City Hall in the late 19th century might have been around 5 to 7 years. And there we have it. Not even close to the 3-year mark. In fact, it is more realistic that it would have taken twice as long. Wow. We have done this a few times now where we ask the ChatGPT questions like this. And it becomes clearer and clearer that none of these buildings were ever built in less than 5 years. And the fact that this is what we're told gives it all away. That this is impossible, and that we are most likely spot on. That a previous, much more advanced civilization with incredible tools, and they did not ride around on horses and wagons, were the true builders of these old world structures. And our civilization is a bunch of founders that claimed these buildings as our own. I don't think that the narrator ever thought that we would go through these narratives, dissecting them down to the smallest detail, asking questions that need to be answered for it to be true. It's incredible, all over the world. And I love that we are all seeing the truth now. This is a growing community by the day, because once you see it, you don't go back to unseeing it. The massive growth is proving that the lie is drowning, and we have had enough of it. We are finding the truth about our past. And the truth that this place that we live is incredible. It's filled with perfection, and we have been distracted from it for far too long. When you walk down the street, you will now see the previous civilization's work in your city, because they are honestly everywhere, and they deserve our attention. Henry Cobb, the first Henry that we were given, is a character that needs to be covered. Here we are given a list of buildings that Cobb is credited with knocking out over 100 years ago. There is one specifically that caught my eye, and that is the Chicago Federal Building. And let's take a look at this picture for a minute. We have shown this type of nonsense before, so let's do it again. They show this fake wagon sitting on the dirt road with more people that are identical next to each other in white. These are not real people. They are all photoshopped. If we zoom in on it, you can clearly see that they are duplicates. They are copy-pasted. And the other one is all glitched out. And who just stands in the middle of a road anyway? None of it fits in. You have a massive building, yet you have horse and wagon, and you have dirt roads. If it rains, the dirt is going to become so wet, and you will not be moving any limestone. Yet this was never an issue for the mainstream narrative. The dirt is always looking like it had just been raked and perfected for the photo. There's a dirt road down the street from my house, and they have to fix that thing all the time. Otherwise, there's massive holes in it. There are no holes in this picture. It's a perfect dirt road. I'm at the point where I'm going to say that this was prepared for the photo in our new civilization. The dirt is sitting on top of the past civilization's work. These buildings are under the dirt. They are much bigger than we can see. This is not the original road. It's all backwards. The road always comes first in construction because you need to be able to access the construction site. This is obvious stuff that the narrative ignores. Like we said, getting the materials there and the machinery would be nearly impossible with dirt roads and donkeys and wagons. If it snows or rains, then just forget about it. Other than a few fake people, a couple fake wagons and a light post, this is in Chicago. And we all know that Shalaga is not abandoned. There are literally no people in this photo. My point is that if this is true, that these are Photoshop people in wagons, which is looking more and more clear that this is the case, then was this the very first picture of this building for our current civilization to see? It's strange, especially when we hear the story about the building. The Chicago Federal Building. Look at the size of this thing. Constructed in just 7 years, of course. Well, I guess that's better than the last story, but come on. After 7 years, they still couldn't throw a road down? It's weird. And what is this? The 1905 building was demolished in 1965, only 50 years after its construction, and replaced by the Kluck-Ziske Federal Building. Are they joking? This building was outdated after 50 years? Oh, and here's the Kluck-Ziske building that is just bursting with architecture and incredible craftsmanship that our civilization is known for. The perfection of the 90-degree angles is just amazing. I don't even know how we pulled this kind of building off. I'm sure we needed many contests for this building. The winner was a pure genius, one of a kind. And all right, you get the point, that this thing is pathetic. I think that any one of us could have drawn this piece of trash up when we were 5. It's an embarrassment. And to knock down the brand new Chicago Federal Building for this is insane. Obviously, the Chicago Federal Building was not constructed by our civilization's timeline and was not brand new. And it also did not need to be replaced. And should we absolutely shred this nonsense? I honestly can't wait to say what I'm about to say. Here we go. The original Chicago Federal Building, with all of its incredible detail and architecture, we can see that it was obviously incredible. We don't need to ask anyone, and we see the difference between the old world's construction and our pathetic nonsense. Now, if we are a civilization of advancement and the mainstream science and narrative is true, then we would be evolving. Everything would be advancing, as they like to tell us we are. But we all know the narrative just told us it only took 7 years to construct the Chicago Federal Building with a bunch of people that rode around on horses and wagons and no roads. So to construct this new piece of trash that was built with 0 ounces of stone that you don't need to transport from a quarry, this thing better have gotten done in like 6 months or less. So let's see how long. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. 14 years to build this box? So when we can all see the construction, it takes 14 years. But when we aren't around to see it and can't verify the dates, it's done in like 3 years or 7 years, in less than half of the time, and done with so much more artistic detail. This point alone should get everyone in the world to shake their heads at what we have been shown in our education system. How much clearer could it get that our history is a complete lie? This is insane when you really think about it. It's shocking. Now, we all understand that none of these buildings were constructed in less than 5 years. So when we dive deeper and are told that St. Andrew's Catholic Church, located in Virginia, was constructed in less than 2 years in 1900 to 1902, when this was their way of transportation, we know that there's something off with the mainstream narrative. And this is when you can go deeper. And we find an incredible construction photo. Are you all ready to see it? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This building is done. That is not a construction photo. That is a completion photo. Now, I don't want to offend anyone, but this is a photo of them putting the cross on top of the spires, switching these buildings from what they originally were into the church. And I'm not saying there weren't any churches, but I'm saying this one was not a church to start with. I'm just telling you what I see after everything that I've researched. They are clearly putting the cross on top of this completed old world building, basically putting their stamp on it. And this photo is coming directly from the church's website. Now I'm going to show you how they do this, how they get away with using the same architect for so many old world buildings. This way they don't need to make a million characters. They find buildings that look similar, and then they use the same guy. And it doesn't even matter what state they're in. And we have shown this before. But this time it is unbelievable how many they try to get away with. So let's go find William P. Ginther, and we have found him. And we know this is the same guy because in the middle of the 113 old world buildings that are of the previous civilization's work that they are pinning on this guy, we have the St. Andrew's Church in Virginia. So this is definitely an interesting character, and very interesting that they wouldn't allow us to just click on his name. Let's take a look at a few of these buildings. And I'm sure we're going to see a pattern that they are all incredible, with perfect architecture. Exactly like the Kuczynski building in Chicago. Just amazing. Oh, I mean, nothing like that. So let's just pick a random one and start with it. How about the St. Philip's Church in Craftsman, Pennsylvania? Okay, well, I think we can see where this is headed already. And to prove my point, let's go right on their website and see the detailed construction story. All of the details will be given that we need in order to fully trust them. So in 1898, a young priest came to St. Philip. His name was William, of course, because they have to repeat names. Because who else is named William? The architect. But let's continue. Between 1898 and 1953, Father William undertook a complete renewal and rebuilding program. So let's get this straight. 1898, this guy comes in and starts the renewal and rebuilding program. We all understand what renewal and rebuilding means, right? It means that there has to be something there already. Are they literally admitting that they did not construct this building right here? And they are taking credit for how it looks today by just calling it a rebuilding program? And this is embarrassing for them. I'm not trying to make fun of them, but come on. This is on their website. They say William number 2 is build of stone in cruciform design. Is build of stone? Let's get that corrected. St. Philip Catholic Parish in Pennsylvania. Let's throw a few more of these buildings on the screen and see what we've got from William number 2 and his master skills just for fun. Let's see what he's got going on all the way in California, since it's nowhere near Virginia and would be insane to have multiple projects like this going on at the exact same time in the 1800s. So let's check this one out. Santa Clara Parish in Oxnard, California. Okay, very interesting. Let's take a look at the inside. And of course, this is insane. Still standing today. And as long as it's left alone, it will be there forever. And so will all of the old world buildings. They are all built with perfection. Let's see a few more from William number 2. Let's take a look at Mother of Sorrows Church and Rectory, located in Ashtabula, Ohio. Oh, right. So we have ourselves a castle. This is unbelievable. I'm gonna make an entire episode on this guy. It seems too weird to me that he is credited with all of these structures that are clearly not built by our civilization. There's definitely something off about all of these buildings. And I wonder how many Williams we could find hidden within these 113 buildings that are pinned to him. That might be fun to keep a running tally. Put that in the comments below. Give this video a like and subscribe if that is something you are all interested in and want me to do. And I just want to let everybody know, because some people were asking, I release an episode once a week, every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If that ever changes, I'll let you all know. And also just a reminder that in March 2024, I'm going to be going to New York City. And if you have any other old world buildings that you think would be worth me checking out and visiting and going inside of, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to wrap this episode up right here. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I will be back very soon with much more. See ya.
Don't trust what you see. Don't listen to your senses.